Hey guys, welcome back. Today we're going to be doing a tier list of all the evolutions in Clash Royale right now, and we're going to be ranking them all the way from S tier all the way down to don't use. Don't waste your time investing your money in these evolutions. They're not that good. So let's start. First, we're going to go with Evo Pekka. I think I'm going to put Evo Pekka in B tier, purely because it's a good evolution and it has a great healing mechanic. It keeps it alive a lot longer than you think it would stay alive, which is great, but there's just not too many decks using it right now in the top 200. And there's the one very good Pekka Goblin Giant deck, which is obviously dominating the meta. But besides that, and the few times that you see bridge spam, there's just not too many decks that use this card. And it's pretty expensive, so you're not going to be able to play it too many times in a game. So that's why I have it in B tier, not any higher, not any lower, because it still is a little bit above average in my opinion. Next we have Evo Musketeer. I think this is going to be C tier purely because it's so situational. Evo Musketeer is amazing in the Balloon Miner Cycle deck. However, even in that deck, it gets you into a few problems now, purely because you have to be so precise with the ability to be able to snipe things and get value out of it, which a lot of the time it's pretty easy to block. But if you do have the Evo in hand and you really need the Musketeer, you could place it down, and because of the sniping, it gets distracted, locking onto other troops. So it could actually get you into a lot of trouble because that deck has Musketeers the main defense, especially air defense. So now it's even getting you into weird situations. And when it comes to other decks outside of Minor Balloon, I think that Evo Musketeer probably wouldn't be used. There's some other Evos that we'll talk about later, especially Evo Firecracker right now, which is dominating the meta. So yeah, I just think there's better options. It's very skill based, very situational. So not low enough for D tier, but definitely not high enough for B tier. Next is going to be Evo Lumberjack. I think Evo Lumberjack is also going to be C tier. I'm going to put it above Musketeer purely because this card is also situational, but if used by the right person in some beatdown decks and some Lumberloon decks, you can get a lot of value out of it, especially if you get it close to the tower. Once it's close to the tower, it gets so much value and it just seems like it won't die. So I think this card is definitely more well-rounded than the Musketeer. However, the decks that it is used in, especially Lumberloon, has other evolutions available like E-Drag, Inferno Dragon, which just seem to mesh a little bit better with those decks in my opinion. You could basically get the same value out of a normal Lumberjack than the Evo when it comes to those decks, and it leaves an open slot for another evolution. So to me, when you have a card that you might still want to use normally and still get the same value, it's perfect C tier because it's also not a bad evolution. But beatdown is really bad in the meta right now. So that's also a reason why I put it in C tier, not any higher. Next is going to be Evo Skeletons. Evo Skeletons are always going to be pretty good, which is why I'm putting them in B tier, especially with cycle players who are very good at getting value out of these cards. Sometimes it's pretty hard to not get value out of these, but the only thing is there's a lot of spells that can counter it, so you're also going to get countered pretty easily. And because of that, sometimes you'll just want to use the regular skeletons and open up another Evo slot. So it's above average, it's definitely a good card. And usually if people are trying to split lane push, sometimes Evo skeletons can completely counter that side so that you could keep going into the lane that you're pushing in. So it can provide a lot of defensive value, but a lot of the times I think I'd rather go with another evolution in a deck. So I'd actually put it behind Evo Pekka right now in this meta as well. Firecracker. Firecracker is going to be our first A tier card. Firecracker is dominating the meta right now. It's super annoying. You pretty much need arrows to defend to break even. You're not going to get any value using any of the other spells besides Evo Zap. but if you're running Evo Zap, that's also blocking another evolution slot just to counter a Firecracker. So it does so much damage, it slows. It's really powerful in Hog Cycle decks right now, so you could just get a bunch of them down. And yeah, this card just provides a lot of value right now. Defense, offense, it has everything. So it's good enough for A tier. Goblin Giant. This is going to be our first D tier card. Um, I think Goblin Giant is D tier purely because it doesn't provide much more value than the original Goblin Giant. First off, it's already 6 elixir, so it's pretty expensive. You're not going to be able to use many in a certain game. And while the ability is nice because it generates goblins, a lot of the time it's pretty hard to build big enough pushes to where you're getting value out of it. You could defend it kind of the same as the normal one, and there's just not too many decks it's viable in right now. There's literally one in the top 200 where it's being used, with Pekka, another expensive card. So I wouldn't waste your time investing into a Goblin Giant when you could get value out of so many other evolutions right now. And in my opinion, you could play some cheaper tanks like Giant, um, cards of that nature, and you'll get the tank ability that the Goblin Giant provides and open up another evolution slot. So there's just not very many situations where I absolutely need this card, and I don't think it's bad on its own. There's just not very many decks where you could utilize it in and get crazy value. Snowball. Snowball is easily going to be the first S tier card. This card provides so much value. Snowball as a normal spell is amazing to me. It slows, it kills small troops, especially bats, and it is amazing in drill decks, amazing in some graveyard decks, and you just seem to always get value when it comes to Snowball, especially in this Ram Rider Executioner deck right now. And the ability slows, removes cards out of the way, and it just seems like it's impossible to not get value with this card. Taking cards completely off of other ones allows cards like Drill to get so much damage, and obviously it's a small spell, so you could cycle it a lot in a game. You're probably going to get multiple, and it groups up a lot of the troops, so you could get a lot of splash damage potential as well. And I think people are just realizing how good this card really is, which is why you're seeing it break through in the meta a lot this month. Next is going to be Executioner. I think Executioner is actually an A tier card right now. I know a lot of people wouldn't agree, but it's just the ultimate defensive card. Knocks back troops, does a lot of damage, targets both air and ground, and when paired with Tornado, it seems like you get ultimate value out of this card, which is why you always see the Hog Xe deck in the meta with Rocket do so well. You could basically just play defense all game and then Rocket cycle if you can't get your Hog to break through. And it just seems like you always have to overcommit with this card on defense, which for me is why I rank it A tier, because you get so much value out of it, even if at times it's not from the actual ability. If people are having to overcommit to this card, you're constantly putting yourself in an elixir advantage, which is why this card is so nice. And a lot of the time, it's just tanky enough to where it could stay alive too and form a counter push. So yeah, I think I'd put this one in A tier. Because it's 5 elixir, I don't know if I'd put it over Firecracker, but there's definitely some good decks utilizing it right now. Next, we're going to go Evo Hunter. I think Evo Hunter is borderline B tier. I think I'm going to put it B tier, not quite C tier, because it's still very strong. But the nerf definitely made a difference, and you could tell. It doesn't lock troops up on defense as long, and because of that, Royal Giant decks aren't being used as much, and that's really the only deck it's super viable in. So because of that, you're just not seeing it a whole lot after the nerf. And it's very good on defense if you could get value out of it. But most of the time, I just don't think it's very good in this meta right now. Um, so yeah, B tier. Goblin Drill, do not invest in this card. It is so bad right now. Most of the time, you get maybe one extra goblin. And whatever defense you place on it literally just walks around the tower and follows the drill. This card got nerfed to the ground and is not worth using in anything. Drill deck's amazing right now. So you would think, okay, an evolution would make this deck even better. No, why would I put it in the evolution slot when I could save it for more evolution cards like Evo Knight, which is great with the Goblin Demolisher right now. You could use Evo Skeletons. You could just save your money, save your Evo slot. It's not worth investing in this card. Maybe to get one more Goblin on tower, which could probably easily get defended by whatever you put in the first place. Next, we're going to have Evo Zap. I'm putting this in S tier. All the small spells that provide so much value that could get cycled multiple times during a match, you're always going to get value out of this card. And Inferno Dragon's been in the meta a little more right now. It's a great counter to that. It's one of the only counters because you can't use Fireball or Snowball to reset the Evo Inferno Dragon. It just stays charged. So Zap cards are the only ones that are going to truly reset it. So Evo Zap always seems to get value. You could kill things like Goblin Gang, minions, archers, Evo archers. So there's just not very many scenarios where you run Evo Zap and you're regretting your decision. Um, just like Snowball, late game, when you cycled so many of these and gotten so much value out of it, you're just never going to be mad. I think Snowball's a little better right now, which is why I'm putting it below Snowball. But yeah, Evo Zap is definitely S tier. Evo Bats. I think these are S tier. Um, Same thing. It's all the 2 elixir evolutions. You just get so much value out of these. They're once you place them right on top of something, they attack pretty quick, so they're already healed up. So a lot of the times you can't just zap them down when you place them, and you're having to spend more elixir just to kill them. And yeah, they basically just provide you a lot of value. The decks that they're in are pretty decent right now. There's a lot of mortar cycle decks with bats in it. There's a lot of graveyard decks that run Evo bats. So yeah, these are a great card, and they could pretty much stop whole defenses in certain situations, unless you have to overcommit to it. So yeah, these are definitely worth using. Evo Tesla. I actually think this card is underrated. I want to put it at the top of C tier. Um, the only reason I'm saying this is because it's very good in Expo right now. And a lot of people are loving the value that the Zap Wave creates when it's used. Um, I think there's other better buildings right now, especially Evo Cannon. So I'm never going to use Tesla in something over that. But Goblin Hunt just got nerfed. It's being used a little less. Still a great card. But Evo Tesla is good in a lot of Hog Rider cycle decks. And it's honestly just really, really annoying because it's hard to kill without something like an Earthquake. So I think it provides more value than some people say it does, which is why I have it at the top of C tier. But it's not in a lot of meta decks right now in the top 200. So I can't put it over some other evolutions, which is going to be the trend with a lot of these evolutions. If it can't be used in top meta decks, I have to put the value a little bit lower, even if the card itself is pretty good. Right, next is Evo Ice Spirit. This is definitely S tier. I I would put it above Zap. I don't know if I'd put it above Snowball, but Evo Ice Spirit is one of the best cards in the game. Provides so much value at 1 elixir. You get a million of these off in a game, and the freeze effect twice can stop whole pushes. It's really overpowered. The nerf really didn't do anything. I think it needs to be nerfed again, to be honest, but it's very hard because you don't want to kill the card at all. Just the ultimate defensive card. This is definitely something you would love in your deck. All cycle players are going to use it. Yeah, you can't get much better than Evo Ice Spirit. Evo Barbs, I'm going to have to put them D tier. You never get value out of these things. Um, it's really not even being used in Lava Hound anymore, which is the one deck where it was super good. I think the only top deck right now that uses it is maybe one bridge spam deck with the archers and elixir collector. So this card, it's not even able to get fireballed, which is great, but a lot of the time you're using it to stop big pushes, and if you have a counter for it, it's not giving you anything. If you don't have a counter for it, sometimes it provides more value, but the rage isn't long enough or fast enough on the Evo barbs to, I think, give you anything extra than what normal barbs do. So I would consider, if you're using barbs in your deck, maybe see if there's another evolution you could put in that slot. The only reason I don't have them and don't use is because if you don't have an evolution, they're pretty easy to get, and you're never going to get worse putting them in your deck, but I don't think you're going to significantly raise your ceiling a lot. So I have to put it in D tier. So next is going to be Evo Dart Goblin. I think I'm going to put this at top of B tier right now. The only reason I don't have it in A tier is because it can be countered by log, which is why it works so well in log bait right now, though. Log bait is amazing in the meta, especially paired with Evo Goblin Barrel. So you're always going to get value out of this card. The poison effect, in my opinion, is very overpowered, and it seems to just stop big pushes even after you've killed it. So I think it needs a little bit of a nerf, and because of the meta, I put it pretty high up. But Firecracker still demands something like arrows, so I don't know if I could put it in the same tier as a card like Evo Firecracker. Amazing card though, amazing in this meta. Next is going to be Goblin Cage. I think this is a very, very underrated evolution. I'm going to put it in B tier. Um, I think on defense, this card stops huge pushes, controls tanks, and basically forces you to just start over again. And if you're playing a beatdown deck or a little bit of a heavier deck, starting over could be a minute into the match. So this could absolutely wreck your entire push. If you're not playing beatdown, if you're playing swarm, that's where this card is gonna be pretty much useless. Um, Actually, because of that, I might have to move it down to top of C tier just because it's pretty situational. And if I'm putting a card like the Musketeer in C tier because it's situational, I think I have to do the same thing with the Goblin Cage. Um, Borderline B tier though. I really want to put it at B tier, so we'll see by the end of this video. Wizard. Don't use this card. Um, I don't think the ability provides any value. You're never going to be playing a card directly on a wizard unless it's crossing your bridge, or you're never going to be playing wizard on top of something so that it gets knocked back because it's a ranged card. And it's 5 elixir. You're not going to use it too many times in a game. Wizard is in very little decks. You could utilize pretty much anything on this list more than a wizard right now. So yeah, just bad card. I wouldn't invest in it. Evo Mega Knight. I have this firmly in C tier. Um, Maybe even lower than. I think I'm putting it at the bottom of C tier. Pretty easy to counter, and it lets you build up enormous pushes after you defend it because it's stuck just knocking things back all the time. So by the time you defended it, now you have a huge counter push to defend. And I think it just puts you in worse situations than an evolution should. And because of that, it's not awful. There's a lot of decks running it right now, so I can't put it in the same tier as the Goblin Giant. But yeah, I just think this is a very average evolution. Royal Giant. I want to put Royal Giant at the bottom of B tier. It's definitely used less after the Hunter nerf, but it's very tanky, does a lot of damage. Royal Giant decks always seem to make their way into the top meta. Um, Great card, really hard to defend, and basically stops you from countering it with Swarm. So, yeah, I think this is a great card. I just don't think it's the meta for it right now, which is why I have it at the bottom of B tier. If it was last meta, I think it would definitely be higher, borderline A tier card. Inferno Dragon. I'm going to put it in B tier as well. This card is better than I thought it was going to be. Um, Very hard to defend if you have something out of cycle, and if it's fully charged, it has to be on tower for a split second to do major damage. So unless you have a real reset card like an Electro Wizard, a Zap, something like that, Fireball and Snowball can't reset it anymore. So this card could get a lot of value even against Swarm in certain situations because it just demolishes them super fast. So this card is good. Um, I think it's balanced because it still has counters, which is what an evolution should do. However, I don't think I could put it higher than something like a Dark Goblin or a Pekka right now, just because of how many decks are using it. Actually, I think it's getting more value than a Pekka. I might have to move it above Pekka. Um, yeah, I think those are on the same playing field. You're going to get pretty similar value out of both. There's a few E-Giant decks running it right now. There's a few Graveyard decks running it. It's great in Hound, good in Sunballoon. Yeah, I think this is definitely better than Pekka now that I think about it. Next is going to be Evo Archers. I think these are A tier. You pretty much always get value out of these cards, especially if you split them because you're having to waste something on both sides. And they could just do major damage, especially if you snipe troops before you're ready. They can demolish whole pushes if you're not ready, or you don't have a card like arrows to counter them right away. So I think Evo Archers are very underrated. They're amazing in Expo, and I think that's the main reason why I put them in A tier. Because last season Expo finished top 10, and they've creeped their way back into the top 200 meta pretty solidly. And that with Tesla, I think it's very hard not to put Archers up here. Um, The reason why I don't have it above Firecracker or Executioner is because one, it's pretty easily countered, and in certain situations, you're not going to get as much value. It's not like you could just place them at the bridge. You could place something right next to them, and then they're stopped pretty easily. If you have arrows, pretty much have nothing. At least with Firecracker, you could place it at the bridge, get one hit off before it gets arrowed. But yeah, Archers are an amazing card right now. Evo Knight. Evo Knight is A tier. It's always going to be amazing. This is the ultimate tank card, and it's been nerfed so many times. However, it still provides so much value, um, especially in graveyard decks. You're seeing it in E-Giant decks. You're seeing it in Expo, you're seeing it in so many decks right now that are in the top meta, and it's because it just provides the ultimate tank, especially when Inferno Dragon is a little better this meta. It just lets you stay alive a little bit that much longer. A lot of kite potential. It's just ultimate on defense, and paired with cycle decks like minor decks, you're never going to see a bad pairing if you have Evo Knight in your deck. Next is going to be Evo Mortar. I think Evo Mortar has to be bottom of C tier for me. Um, it's strong. There's just so many ways to defend it, and if it gets on tower, it's amazing. It does so much damage. But when you're playing very skilled players, you're almost never going to get a lock on tower. So, I don't know. It's kind of like Mega Knight for me. I think it's better than Mega Knight, actually. Yeah. Might even put it above Musketeer right now. But yeah, it's very hard to get a lock. It's actually being used a decent amount in the meta right now. I just think that there's some better options. Now, Battle Ram. I want to put Battle Ram bottom of C tier. Not a lot of decks running it right now. I think it's actually underrated. I think it's a great card. I think it's very hard to utilize it in a lot of the top decks right now. And I think some people are using some other evolutions in place of it right now, except for the one Archer Queen Bridge spam deck. It's great in that deck. Um, it has a lot of resets. It has E-Wizard, it has Bowler, so it's never going to be overpowered. The same things that countered it before are countering it now, which for me is balanced. It's definitely a balanced card, but there's better ones in it right now, which is why I have it in C tier. Evo Witch. I still have this thing in S tier. After the nerf, you've definitely seen it used less. You've definitely seen the use of lightning go down, but I think the use of lightning going down is making this evolution even stronger. Um, it doesn't heal as much now. However, this thing always seems to stay alive. Um, and you're always getting value out of it unless you have something like a Valkyrie, which is also why it's gone down a little bit in the rankings. It's no longer number one. But when you have Bait and Valkyrie so strong in the meta, you're seeing that a lot against Evo Witch. But Evo Witch is just getting so much value right now, and you just see it in so many different decks with so many different win conditions. This is a great card, and I don't think the nerf put it out of the meta at all. It's definitely still there. It might be weaker than it used to, but this is still one of the best cards in the game. Evo Valkyrie. I want to put this thing at the top of A tier. You get so many defensive counters out of this card. You could place it behind a major tank and tornado it back and stop whole pushes. It's amazing with bait right now, and you could have it stop things like Graveyard, which is huge in the meta. Graveyard is actually a top win condition in the top 200 right now, surprisingly, and this card stops that in the water. Um, you could pair Valkyrie with so many win conditions. It's used in Hog, it's used in Bait. Sometimes it's even used in Graveyard. I just don't see very many scenarios where you wouldn't want a Valkyrie, Evo Valkyrie in your deck. It's just very dynamic. Stopping tanks, stopping swarm, very tanky, so you could use it as a tank unit. A great card right now. Next is Evo Wall Breakers. I want to put them in the middle of B tier. You have to be very skilled to use Evo Wall Breakers, which is why you don't see them much in the top 200. unless you have the people who've been using them forever and are very skilled with them. You can't just plop them at the bridge and see value out of them. You have to use them very situationally, and you have to know exactly what counters your opponent has in hand and when they're out of hand and when you could use wall breakers, when you have to put a tank in front of them, when you simply use them to get killed and eliminate swarm so that something can push through. These are a very, very skill based card, and if you've mastered them, you will always get value out of them. And for you, they will be above B tier. But I think in general, because they're so hard to use, um, I can't put them higher than some of the other cards I have. Evo Goblin Barrel. I think I put this right below Dark Goblin. Bait is just so strong right now. Um, there's just obviously anything in bait right now is going to be high on this tier list. But kind of the same thing as the Dark Goblin. So it's going to provide value, it seems like. However, there's always a lot of counters to it. Um, if it's late in the match and one of your towers is basically full, you could kind of just ignore the other tower depending on the situation. So it's a great card right now. I just don't think I could put it above things in A tier. Um, but yeah, super cheap. You'll get a lot of them down in a match. Not as many as some other cards because it is a 2 card evolution cycle. But yeah, paired with bait right now, this thing is a must in the meta if you're looking for something to start with. Next is Evo Bomber. I'm going to put it in D tier. This card has fallen off, and it is not its fault at all. It is purely the meta it's in. Um, it could still get some great value. It's cheap, so you'd get a lot of them down. But really, the only thing you're seeing it in right now is E Giant, which you have to be pretty skilled to be able to use E Giant in top 200. Um, yeah, I think there's just other options I'd rather use. I think it doesn't provide enough value for me to put it in over something like Firecracker or Archers or even Skeletons having another cycle card. So yeah, I think Evo Bomber just needs a meta change. I think once new evolutions started coming out and you started getting things like Snowball, Ice Spirit, Zap, that's definitely why you see the usage of the bomber going down. Um, but yeah, I don't think it's its fault at all. Evo Cannon has to be S tier for me. It's definitely the best building in the game right now. The barrage got nerfed a little bit, so you have to be a little more precise when using this, or else you're not going to get as much value as you used to out of it. However, still an amazing building. It's cheap, does a lot of damage, provides you value in late game situations. You can't go wrong with Evo Cannon. Next is Evo E-Drag. I think E-Drag, for me, is definitely C tier. It's expensive, and in theory, its ability is amazing. Probably one of the most overpowered in the game. But you're not going to be getting a lot of these down in a match. The only deck I really see this working in is either Loon or Elixir Golem, which could be really annoying. But once you know how to counter that, you're not going to see it a lot by top players because it's not as useful. Um, yeah, I think I'm actually going to put it above Musketeer. No, I'm going to leave it where it's at, actually, right above Mega Knight. I think you could get more value with the Musketeer, especially with Musketeer being cheaper. I wish you could use E-Dragon in more decks. It's just a very situational card, and I think that outlines my C tier. It's a lot of the situational cards. So yeah, sorry, Mega Knight's going back in C tier. Um, Recruits. Recruits for me, man, are definitely near the top of B tier. They provide so much pressure. You almost have to defend both lanes, or else one of these things charging your towers is going to get a significant amount of damage. Swarm isn't bad in this meta, which is why I have it in B tier. I think if it was a different meta, it might be enough for A tier, but they're pretty expensive. But they also allow you to control the game. I think that's the difference with some of the other expensive cards. These things are very controlling. You could defend both sides at once and then provide immediate counter push pressure. So yeah, this card is definitely up there right now, and I think that's everything. So yeah, that's my tier list of all the evolutions in Clash Royale right now. Let me know in the comments if you think anything needs to be changed. Let me know if I'm totally harping on one of your favorite evolutions. I'm sorry. This is just my opinion, and I think everything can switch in one meta. But right now, this is where I have all of these cards, and I hope you enjoyed. Thanks for watching, and tune in again next time.